Story Merchant Books presents eHuman Dawn by Nicole Sallak Anderson, narrated by Lisa Sarasoli.
Chapter 1. New Omaha, capital city of the North American province, July 2nd, 2242. The day Miranda Valentine left Adam Winter was the day his life began. Technically, he'd been living as Adam Winter for almost 200 years. Yet to call it a life was a bit of an overstatement. True, the past 2 centuries had included many events, interactions, feelings, reactions, and consequences, but not everything he felt or thought was of his own free will. For Adam Winter was the ultimate singularity construct, an eHuman interacting within the great global network called Neuro, which was managed by the world government. Adam Winter was unaware of his entrapment, unaware of the cage in which he lived. But when Miranda suddenly departed from his life, she left a hole so vast within his being, not even the entire library of Pleasure Zone apps and virtual programming offerings on Neuro could fill it. That's why, when adventure came calling and asked him to dance, Adam accepted the invitation. After all, a lonely man is a man with nothing to lose and everything to gain. And what Adam Winter was about to gain would be nothing less than his own humanity. Miranda had left Adam during his routine 8 hours of solitary confinement. With his recharge complete, Adam opened his eyes and looked around his room. The familiar white walls were comforting. The terminal confirmed that his chi regulator was fully loaded. Time to unplug. His right hand flicked the charge switch and a smooth metal rod disengaged from the shaft in his lower back. He stepped away from the wall socket, shaking his head. Miranda was gone. She'd been his companion for almost 50 years. He thought it should be easy to let her go, but it wasn't. It was every bit as hard as the last time a companion had jumped. And before that, well, it was the same old story. The vow, till death do us part, disappeared the day humanity took a bite from the apple of immortality. Adam quickly stepped across the room and opened the door to the circular living area he shared with 2 other eHumans. There were 4 doors leading off the main living area to individual recharge rooms. These contained the wall sockets they connected to every 2 days to receive their necessary dose of chi from Neuro. This was how they recharged the electromagnetic field generator called the chi regulator that kept their electronic eHuman bodies connected to their consciousness, or lux as it was fashionably called. Recharging, necessary for survival, took a full 8 hours to complete. Adam's housemates Jill and Thomas were online via the Internet Console, or EC. The huge curved screen hung directly in the center of the large circular living space. They were dancing with a holographic couple projected in the middle of the room, their weekly tango lesson with some of Buenos Aires legends. Adam nodded as he passed, noting the adoration for Jill and Thomas's gaze. Jill, however, stared over Thomas's shoulder and cast Adam her own look of devious desire. A jolt of excitement ran through him, like a lightning bolt zigzagging across a humid summer sky. But then Miranda's face entered his thoughts, and a surging wave of guilt drowned his excitement in a millisecond. To desire more than one woman simultaneously seemed Adam's calling card in life. Yet Miranda had been his companion in so many ways that he desperately missed her already. Adam walked past the EC. He had several messages. He ignored them and continued by, passing the large glass table flanked by steel chairs where they entertained others offline. He headed out to the balcony to gaze upon the city, another gray day in early July. The sun hadn't shown itself in months. Not surprising. The clouds had been gathering for years. No worries either. eHumanity stopped caring about the air temperature long ago. eHumans wouldn't suffer the Earth's climate changes. A small aircraft flew over the city's steel and bronze buildings, gleaming in spite of the smog. Selecting a file from his RAM, Adam replayed the events of the previous evening like a movie in his head. He'd rushed home from work because Miranda had sent him an emergency message. When he entered the apartment, she was on the balcony, holding a small jump request device in her hands. Adam's heart sank at the sight. He approached her slowly, knowing what was about to happen. It seemed she'd grown bored with herself. Immortality had lost its glimmer. When a person reached the point that they no longer wanted to be in the eHuman body they inhabited, they could apply at the Lifestyle Maintenance Office, or LMO, for a new body. The fee was enormous, But for many, it was worth it to work with an LMO lifestyle specialist to design a new body and thus a new life. There was just one caveat. The law was that any memory of the previous life would be wiped out, gone forever. The Lifestyle Enhancement Act, passed during the Great Shift by the newly formed world government, aka WG. Because of this law, Adam himself had never jumped. He didn't want to lose his memories. To him, memory was the one thing that made him truly immortal. It was the closest thing he had to a religious belief, and he clung to it, even when all of those around him saw it as foolish. Miranda trembled as she handed him the jump request. Since eHumans were never cold, her trembling could only mean that she was upset. Adam looked at the small screen. A lovely woman with long dark hair and brown skin. Quite the contrast to Miranda's razor-short bronze hair, pale white skin, and large blue eyes. The new body's image spun around on an axis so that you could see every part. It was a very good body. Adam braced himself as Miranda began to speak. "Request for one-to-one communication," she said out loud. "Granted," he replied. This would be the end of their spoken conversation. He had enabled her to speak directly to his mind. Obviously, she did not want Jill or Thomas to overhear them. "You're late coming home again," she accused. Adam thought nothing. She would be able to read any thoughts he had, so it was best for him to focus on her words alone. "True," he answered. "More work, I imagine?" "Yes. The power outages are a big concern, Miranda. People are panicking. I need to compose a story for Newsreel to ease their minds," he answered. Adam was a journalist for the Friends Network. He wrote and performed newsreels that could be downloaded on Neuro. He had many fans, not only because he was aesthetically pleasing to the eye, but he could also deliver hard facts while making his viewers feel great. His current subject, however, was quite touchy. Making everyone feel good about an electricity shortage when electricity was the only thing that kept them alive, well, he needed to pull off a miracle. "You can't make them feel any better," she said, reading his thoughts. She smiled bitterly. "Why are you going to jump?" Adam asked, cut to the chase. "I've been Miranda for 80 years, Adam," she began. "With you for almost 50 of those years. I could just leave you and start again in a new apartment. But I don't want to remember. I'm tired of being Miranda. Tired of New Omaha. I need a change. I want a new life. 80 years is simply too long to be me." Adam laughed. She glared at him, crossing her arms and leaning back against the balcony railing. He gazed at the beautiful city that rose up behind her. "I don't laugh at you, my dear," he explained. "I mean no harm. It's just that you're not the first woman to live with me for an extended time, only to decide that she has to jump into a new body and start a new life." "You never jumped," she asked. "Why not?" "We took on these eHuman bodies, left our flesh behind for immortality. I like being immortal. If I jump, I, Adam, don't live on. I lose my memory. 200 years. Gone. I want to remember it all. So I choose to remain Adam. Immortal." "But I'm still immortal," she exclaimed. "eHumans never die." "You don't remember who you were before Miranda, do you?" he countered. She shook her head. "And you won't remember me when you jump. That's not immortality. You might as well be dead." She glared at him with a hatred so pure it made him cringe. Rather than look the fool, he chose to disdain her. "Whatever, Miranda. Go for it. After all, being reborn has been all the rage for the past 200 years, he yelled out loud, disconnecting their one-to-one connection. The conversation ended there. Adam stormed off the balcony and into his recharge room. Miranda moved out during the 8 hours he was locked inside. Another aircraft flew over his head, forcing him into the present. It was time to get ready for work. He stared at the place where she'd stood only 8 hours before. He regretted he hadn't even said goodbye. "I'm sorry," he whispered to no one. Turning on his heel, he went back into the apartment to get ready for work and get on with his long, lonely life. Such was love in the immortal modern world.
That was Story Merchant Books' eHuman Dawn by Nicole Sallak Anderson. We hope you enjoyed it.